Hi, Randall. So the use case for this video today is we have a client and their need is to be able to have remote users or mobile users to receive calls in more remote areas where data connection is kind of spotty. So can you go ahead and describe and show how we can accomplish that in Genesys Cloud?
Sure, and based on previous conversations, it sounds like those users need to participate in a hunt group, so that you call the hunt group. So and the users in the hunt group will be alerted, and they'll be able to take the call and receive it, and also the call will be recorded. Right?
Exactly.
So we see all that stuff. All right. So let me show you my setup here. I'm logged into our Canadian dev org, so we will be able to show how this works. So first I'll show you my setup as a user. Okay, so I'm just going to the director here just to show you guys what I got going down. So the first thing is I have a DID. This is my test DID pointing to me directly. 1-437-253-1838. So that's my DID. The second thing I did was I set up a remote station phone. So remote station phones are really interesting, and I'm just going to go and take a look at that, and then I'll show you how to actually add it to me as a user. But what a remote station phone allows you to do is to create a station that is actually just a phone number. So for example, rather than logging in using a Polycom phone or perhaps a WebRTC phone, I can log in and use a remote station phone so that when someone calls me or I receive a call from a hunt group or perhaps an ACD queue, the call comes into Genesys Cloud. Genesys Cloud alerts me by placing a second call out to the station. The station could be, like I said, a WebRTC phone. It could be a Polycom phone. But in this case, I'm actually going to use a station that is just a phone number. So therefore, what the system does when I'm using that remote station is it places a call to the number I designate in the remote station. It could be a cell phone. It could be my home phone. This allows you to do some really unique things when setting up ad hoc disaster recovery and for this solution. So just to go through that, we'll go through phone management here. So of course, the first thing you need to do is have a basic settings for remote station. So I've got one here, right? So remote number station. You have to set that up. Setup's pretty easy. You just add a new base setting, select a model, and through here there is a remote station phone. Right there, it's called remote.
Template. This is the template for
that is a template.
Actual phone.
That's correct. So you have to create a phone template first, and the model is remote. And normally I just name it remote station template or remote station phone type, whatever you want to name. Once you create it, there are a few settings in here, but not that many. For example, you could use persistent connections. So when you nail up the call, the first time, so if I'm using a remote station extension or a phone, I should say, and I receive a call, it comes into Genesys Cloud. Genesys Cloud reaches out to me. My phone will ring, and then once I answer that call, the call between me and Genesys Cloud will stay up. And then calls will just come in. This is used a lot for agents that need to use remote stations.
So let's say in a disaster recovery, right? So if the WebRTC, your network is down, then let's have everyone at home using their home phones or the cell phone. Right. It's always connected.
Right. Or how about you have an agent working from home, their internet connection isn't solid enough to support WebRTC or any other, a Polycom phone or a hard phone provisioned over the internet from home. But their internet is solid enough for them to use the client. Well, then you could use the remote station phone to deliver the call to the agent to their cell phone or their home phone. Okay. This is how you turn on persistent, and here's a timeout. So that's important, right? How long will that call it will stay nailed up? And then we have use originating address, which is kind of cool. So just see, use originating caller address on the call connection. So what that means is that if I'm using remote station as a business user, okay, and someone calls my DID that's set up for me in Genesys Cloud. Genesys Cloud sees that I'm using a remote station, and it sends the call to my remote station. I'll see that the call in the caller display on my phone, I'll see that the call came from the person calling me, not Genesys Cloud. So this is powerful, so that when you're using this functionality, because basically it treats your cell phone as it's receiving a call directly from the PSTN, but it's not. It's coming from Genesys Cloud, so you can have all the UC features and functionality out of Genesys Cloud, but still use your cell phone as an endpoint effectively, right? So that's what the originating address is. And actually, I'm going to turn that on because it'll help us with what we're doing, and I'm going to turn persistence off. So I'll save that. All right. So now, once I do that, then I just got to go create a phone, and I'll show you the one that I created. I'm going to do a search here for Randall. Here's Randall_remote. Okay. So give the phone a name, pick the site, and of course, by picking the site, that designates what dial plan is going to be used for inbound and outbound, and the number when we make call. So when we use this remote station, what phone number is Genesys Cloud going to deliver the call to via the PSTN? Right. So this is my test home phone that I've got right here. It's just it's a POTS line, plain old telephone line service from Bell that comes with my home internet connection. And I've got a few other connections in here. You can see use originating address. I'm getting that because I'm using that phone type that we just looked at.
Yeah, it's inherited from the template.
Right. Persistent connection is not set up. So I can set it up so that everybody gets it, or individually. And then there's a few custom settings that we don't really need to worry about. So once we save that, to use it, then there's a few places I can go in and add my phone. So I could go here under calls, click the phone details selector here, and choose it here. Right. So select the phone. Randall. You see, I have one called Randall WebRTC, and there's Randall Remote, which I've already used.
And this will make your phone the default phone for what Genesys is going to use to reach you.
That's correct. I can do it up here as well, right here. Now, while we're here, I want to talk about this functionality, forward my calls. You may be wondering, okay, wait a second, why wouldn't you just forward your calls? And the reason why I'm not forwarding my calls is because I still want to use the UC functionality that comes with Genesys Cloud, so Unified Communications, and I want to be able to do something really important, which is to participate in hunt groups. So in order to do that, I gotta act as if I'm a user with that ability to send the calls to that remote station. So that's why I don't use forward calls. You see, I have myself set to available, so I could log in here and make sure I'm available, go out for the day, or leave myself available. I could even use the Communicate application on my cell phone to set my availability to available, and set my station to remote, and away you go. Now, you may ask, well, then why wouldn't you just use the Communicate app? Well, because when people are remote, sometimes they don't have access to quality internet to be able to take the call. And this use case, that is in fact the issue. So the Communicate app that would sit on someone's phone does make use of your data connection, or if you're using wireless. But what if that's not reliable? Here's the answer. So the next step is, all right, we've got this all set up. We've got a remote station call. And in fact, just for fun, I'm going to get Edgar to call this number, okay, which is the DID that's been assigned to me. And I'll show you that this phone will ring. And that's the only thing I need to do to answer the call. So go ahead.
Please stay on the line while you are connected to Randall's hotline.
Okay, so here's the call. It's coming in. My phone is ringing. I'm going to answer it. So I just answered it on the phone. I did not touch the client, and I can hear Edgar there. Hey, Edgar.
Hi, Randall.
Perfect. Now, here's the other fun thing. Because we did this and we've enabled line recording, that call will be recorded. Okay? So that's how you would call me directly, and how I would answer the call directly if someone called my DID. Now, on the group, let's look at that. I'm going to go to my test group here. And here it is. So when I create a group, if I want to enable it to be able to receive calls, all I need to do is go over and click on Enable Calls and hit the Edit button. When I hit the Edit button, then it's going to ask me some information. For example, what is the phone number that you want to designate to this group? Yes, I can use an extension. However, I want to be able to reach this group directly by calling a DID from the outside. And you can see my test DID here is just 1 digit up from the DID assigned to me.
Yeah. Would extensions come into play if you publish this group at the IVR as a directory entry?
That's a good question. Could you do extension dialing to the group? It's possible, and that's something we should probably test. You could, for example, if someone hit the IVR and say, if you want to hit this group, press 1 and then forward to the group. You could do it that way, but you don't even need an extension to do that, really.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
yeah, because there is a group there's a group transfer function. However, giving in the extension, you can't enable it to receive calls without giving it a DID or an extension. So you would have to give it an extension. So here we can go in and we can choose our routing type. So sequential is, you can see I'm designated as number 1, but if I add more members here, so I'll add Edgar in here. All right, so I'm gonna add Edgar and see now. So it's gonna always call me first and then Edgar. That's sequential. I have rotary, right? So based on who has the last received call, rotary would probably what I would use if I wanted to use a traditional hunt group where, okay, I've got a team of people and we want to share the workload and we want to, we want to rotate through that list of users. So I received the last call, so the next call should go to Edward, or to Edgar, sorry. Edgar received the last call, the next one should go to me, that sort of thing. Right? Then we have rotate calls and stop ringing after. So this is basically how because remember, it's a hunt group, so they're not going to have in-queue handling, they're not going to have messaging or hear hold music, they're going to hear ringing. It's a hunt group, it's not ACD. So what's the customer experience and how long do you want them to sit there with it ringing? That we set up here, right? So max ring time 2. So this is rotate calls, so how many times do they rotate through, and what's the maximum, how many rotations do we go through? And when what we're talking about here is how long do I rotate each user, right? And stop ringing, and how many times do I go through the rotation before I time out? Then I have overflow options. So I can say, send it to a backup contact. Now, it used to be that you could only overflow to a group, but now you can actually overflow to an individual. Actually, no, you can only do to a group. I apologize. You can overflow to another group, or you can leave a voicemail. When you choose to leave a voicemail, you can set up your greeting. Everybody in the group will get an email, and you can also turn the setting off. You can see email notifications may include personally identifiable information. If you take that off, then there won't be any personally identifiable information
in that email.
In that email. That's right. So it's cool because let's say you have a group, a team that you're using this for, and no one answers the call. You give a voicemail option, they're going to get an email, and you could turn around and you could turn around and that's going to go right back into the team. They're all going to get an email notification, so they'll know that they have to go in and work it. So that's pretty much how groups work.
Let's give the group a call.
Right. So what's going to happen is Edgar is going to call that number, and I'm set to available. I'm the only one in here, so what should happen is it's going to forward to me, and I should get my call on my home phone, just like we showed you in the first use case. Go ahead. Okay, here we go. There's my phone ringing. Hey, Edgar.
Hey, Randall.
All right. There we go. So, and last but not least, all right, that's cool. We proved that we can move the call around, but what if we need it recorded? Which the use case that we were working on, customer wants to be able to see it being recorded. If we go to workspace here, take a look at interactions. Okay, so here's that last call. Okay, here's the timeline. Actually, that's not the right call. I apologize. Let me go back one. Let's go back here. Workspace, interactions. Should be this guy right here. All right, so now we can see the call was recorded and the timeline, what happened. So this is Edgar's test number.
Yeah.
It's coming in, hitting that hunt group, alerting me, and then the interaction time here. So you can see the whole thing, and there's the recording.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps, and hopefully that can help some of our users. I mean, some of the use cases for this could be an on-call rotation. So after-hours on-call rotation, where you need a team of engineers to be on call. So the customer calls in.
Yep.
Now, remember that it's going to go directly to the hunt group. There's no in-queue handling, and it's pretty basic. So in that use case, if that's okay for the on-call rotation, that as soon as someone picks up the call, that the customer's right there and the engineer can take the call, great. Of course, we can build on that using if the customer wants to have more built into the in-queue handling, so that when the customer calls in, they're not routed directly to an engineer. The engineer gets alerted. We can build that as well. But for basic hunt groups, this will work.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Randall, for solving that case and demonstrating it. Okay. And
Great.
thanks everybody for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.